Fly me to, sorry. No more Sinatra.
No
We're
more
back.
Sinatra. Hi everybody. My name is Morris. The crooner there is Brian, and this is Dream Idiots. Each week we bring each other stories, drag you along for the ride. We are doing a Nick Lowe special this episode, which means we're a couple of bashers. We're going to get this thing down and get going. He
Oh,
was known for doing that in the studio. No
okay.
retakes, first takes, kind of guy.
You stumped me there
Anyway,
for a second. Okay.
Nick Lowe. We do not have any updates this week. You can find everything you need about us at dreamidiots.com. That includes dropping us a line about what you like, what you don't like. That includes getting in touch with us about possible stories. If you want to do stuff, you can also check out our entire catalog of episodes, of which there are many. And please rate and review us if you can on your podcatcher of choice. Did I miss
Yep.
anything, Brian? Is that everything?
Nope. Thanks for hanging in and tagging along with us. Give us, yeah, as Morris was saying, ratings and reviews is great. Check out dreamidiots.com. Got some merch, got some cool stuff, whole back
I
catalog.
forgot the merch.
Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening.
So
Here we
this
go.
story, this is episode 154, and I get to start this time. And this is a Tale of Two Restaurants Part 4.
Right.
I've been meaning to bring this to you, but we've had a couple of hiccups along the way, had to rearrange a schedule. So this is a while back. I was in Chicago back in June. So this installment of A Tale of Two Restaurants will be a bit different from the previous ones. There's not going to be a lot in the way of city information because it's Chicago, for God's sakes.
Right. Part of it.
Everybody knows Chicago. Also, this is a first person account. To paraphrase that great reporter Dick Thornburg, I choose to put my life and talent on the line to bring you this special story on Chicago deep dish pizza. Brian, are you a pizza guy?
Yeah, because of this episode, I knew you were doing this one. I'm reminded of the, I think Mike Birbiglia joke that says, his comment is, even shitty pizza is good. It's like, yeah, I love even
Wow.
the worst pizza ever. I would probably still love.
Well, having grown up in San Antonio like me, your pizza experience was probably pretty limited growing up.
Probably
Pizza Hut, Mr. Gatti's, and occasionally Luca's Pizza at Windsor Park Mall.
Shakey's
You remember
Pizza.
Shakey's is another one. We had a
God,
Godfather at one point.
Godfather's just coming back, actually.
Yeah, we have one here.
Okay,
But I think Mr. Gaddy's was usually my jam, especially the one on Broadway because they showed all the Warner Brothers cartoons and all Three
right,
Stooges
right,
shorts.
right,
Um, so I'm not exactly what you would call a reliable narrator. I lived in New York for a while and definitely understood why a slice of pizza is the New York lunch
right.
preferred by everybody up there. I personally liked Famiglia and La Rustica in New York. But I didn't really know, for example, until I started looking into this, and this is when people are going to get this story might make more people mad than anything else I've done on the show. There's a difference between true deep dish pizza and pan pizza. Did you know that?
No.
I didn't either. As I understand it, true deep dish Chicago pizza involves a relatively thick crust baked in a round skillet with ingredients layered in. Pan pizza is more like a loaf, and it's more akin, is what I've experienced, to Detroit style pizza, which I know you've
Okay,
had because I've had it with
right.
you. Um, I'll talk about the two restaurants I hit, but first, typically when I'm in Chicago, I catch a baseball game, either the Cubs or the White Sox, obviously, and then a set at Andy's Jazz Club. No baseball this time, but I did make it to Andy's, and I also caught an actual blues set live at the House of Blues, which really surprised me. They actually played blues music. Plus the Jayhawks at Old Town Music School. I walked or took the L everywhere, just like when I was back in New York and took the good old 6 line on the subway. I visited a few great record stores, such as Sugar's, Reckless Records, and Dusty Groove, which had a phenomenal collection of jazz records. I also found a great bookstore, Exile in Bookville, which not only had great books, I bought a James Baldwin book there, but also had vinyl as well, so it was a real vinyl trip for me. Sometimes when in Chicago, I head over to the Music Box, which runs a nice mix of classic films, art house cinema, and even a few current films. It's a classic old movie theater where many years ago I watched the then most recently recovered cut of Fritz Lang's 1927 silent science fiction film Metropolis,
Hmm.
complete with an organist for live musical accompaniment. It's pretty cool. And then I found out later that an online buddy of mine was there at the same time. He says, "You should have called out my name." It's like, dude, come on. Um, well, I was the large bald guy down front. Yeah, you're Chicago, man. Again, dude. No music box this time, though. Now, we stayed off of Wacker Avenue Get that out of your system now, Brian. Wacker Avenue, just 2 blocks from the river, right next door to the Christian Science Church, which led me to wonder if Mary Baker Eddy lived long enough to enjoy pizza, or if she would have enjoyed pizza. I don't know how to feel about that. We weren't that far from a Trump hotel, to which I, like other passersby, gave the high sign, full bird maximum extension.
Right, of
It seemed
course.
like a really nice place to take a good steaming dump. Chicago, like any great city, is great because of its people. And I'm being very sincere here. Chicago is full of very friendly people. I have been, on no certain terms, been politely told where things are. Oh, hey, man, you look like you're lost. What are you trying to find? You trying to find
No.
this? And it's like, actually, I am. Well, you're on the wrong side of the river. Now, this is at least in the summer. I've never been to Chicago in the winter, so I don't know if the friendliness changes in the winter. I can imagine what it's like with the cold air off of Lake Michigan there. But an example of this is I was crossing the State Street Bridge. A youngish man, say in his mid-20s, was announcing to anyone passing by, "Hey, it's my birthday! It's my birthday!" He said this to me and then gave me a big hug right there in the middle of the bridge. I wished him a very happy birthday and finished crossing the bridge and carrying on to wherever I was going. I think it was when I was heading over to House of Blues. Another time, I saw a group of young women on the street as I left the Medieval Torture Museum. I'll let that sit in for a bit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's an interactive medieval torture museum, Brian, complete with.
So you can climb into an Iron Maiden and see how it feels like to be.
No, they
Um,
have no, they have dummies set up. So
mm.
like you can lop the head off a dummy with a guillotine and all
Oh
kinds of
wow,
stuff.
that's kind of cool actually.
And yeah, it is. And then it'll tell you like, yeah, go ahead, pull. If it says pull the rope, pull the rope. See what happens. They also had actual old torture devices, such as the pair of anguish.
The pair of man. Okay, no idea what that would do.
It's shaped kind of like a smallish light bulb, like the kind you would put into a desk lamp, a smaller bulb.
Uh,
It's inserted in a certain orifice. And then when you push a button, that thing opens up inside and just starts spinning around. It's really, really brutal. And the best part about it was I bought a set of playing cards that had different, so it was like the ace was the Iron Maiden, or there was a guillotine on there, there was the pair of anguish, there's all kinds of stuff. And I slipped that into a poker game right when I got back, and the guys I was playing poker with were like, what is it with you? What is this crap?" Anyway, so this museum where I saw this group of young women is right next to the Chicago Theater on State Street. So maybe there's something about State Street. My encounters both happened on State Street. These young ladies were chatting and laughing when one of them broke from the group to point out a poster for The Outsiders, a 2023 Broadway musical coming soon to the theater. "See this guy?" she yelled out to her friends. "My best friend's sister fucked him." So now her friends knew, I knew, as did everyone within a 4 block radius. That's the kind of friendliness and openness I'm talking about. You just never know what's going to happen on the
hmm
street. I don't want to give you the impression, Brian, that I got distracted from my mission. That's certainly not the case. I used that valuable tool called Reddit to determine which 2 pizza joints had the largest following. It was hardly scientific, but I tried. One thread was started by a first-time Chicago visitor who had a free day while there and asked for pizza advice from the native Chicagoans on Reddit. And boy, did the native Chicagoans come out in full force. A few different pizza joints were bandied about. 2 in particular showed up in high frequency: Giordano's and Lou Malnati's. Responses boiled down to either A, promoting one over the other, usually to the point of denigration of the other,
Right, of
or
course.
B, saying in essence that they both suck, are tourist traps, and then recommending a third option. There were also intelligent responses as to why a diner might prefer one over the other, particularly in terms of the basic things that make up a pizza: sauce, crust, and fillings. I'm not going to call them toppings on a Chicago deep dish pizza. I'm going to call them fillings. I figured out my schedule and recovery time for pizza consumption and picked the locations. I would hit a Lou Malnati's just across the river first, and then a Giordano's a little south of my hotel a day or so later. The Redditor comments were valuable in my assessments, noting what to pay attention to in each dining experience. Here's one Redditor with some wise thoughts about deep dish pizza, posted in response to that same Chicago visitor mentioned earlier, the one wanting the quote, best Chicago pizza joint. This post finishes pretty strong. I quote, "The idea of best is really pretty silly to me. Everything just varies from place to place. Some will be to your liking, others more to others' liking. For what it's worth, deep dish pizza is unique to Chicago, but it's not what us Chicagoans eat very often. That being said, you're in Chicago and want a unique experience. So I get it. That's good. You meet the person on their own terms of what they want. Right?
Right.
This poster continues. Here's what I suggest. Download the One Bite app and check out Dave's reviewed, I think he meant review, so that's sick, reviews of the deep dish pizza places you've been recommended here. The nice thing about these reviews, they're like 3 minutes long. You can see the pizza. He describes what he does and doesn't like and gives them a rating. Based on what you see and hear, you can decide what sounds best to you, which may or may not be what others feel is best. Okay. So pretty rounded out, like, hey, here's a way you can make your decision. You get evidence, you can look at stuff.
Right.
Here's the kicker. This is the way this particular response ends. Quote, as far as your free day, my girlfriend and I could come by where you're staying and entertain you if you're into that sort of thing.
Okay. Speaking of toppings
The and fillings for that
and
matter.
fillings and fillings.
This particular redditor's handle is PANTYLVER 85. Panty Lover 85. So with that aside, here's my honest assessment of my Chicago deep dish visits. And keep in mind that these are chains with multiple locations. The new Lou Malnati's I hit was busy, an hour or so wait in the middle of the day. It's in a very touristy spot, this one. I ordered a personal Chicago special, basically a sausage pizza. I found the crust to be very flavorful and reasonably thick. The sausage was mild but tasty, so it's not the kind that's going to, give you acid reflux.
Right.
The sauce was acceptable, and the cheese was perfectly melted. I was full after one half of the pizza. It's a very small pizza, but it's deep dish, so I had two slices and moved on. Now, Giordano's is another story. Again, I waited for about an hour. The crust was acceptable, but the fillings were basically pepperoni floating in a sea of melted mozzarella and marinara sauce. I can't say I cared for this one very much, except that the sauce was very flavorful. There was something about the soup-like consistency that I found unappealing. I mean, when you cut it, the
Just ooze out.
to cut it just runs out on the plate like it's soup. But it tasted pretty good. I'm not a food critic, so I don't know how else to describe it. And I was able to again finish about half the pizza. In short, if you could Frankenstein parts from both, it would be unbeatable. Like if you could take the sauce from Giordano's and put it in the crust of the with the sausage and the stuff in the Lou Malnati's, you'd have a really, really awesome pizza. But as a bonus, I found myself craving deep dish pizza on day 3. So I took the advice an acquaintance gave me once. Quote, if you know you have 24 hours to live, fly to Chicago and eat at Gino's East. I'm paraphrasing there a bit, and this person is still alive, as am I, as far as I know, but the essence of that statement stands. So I found a Gino's East location and ordered, once again, a personal-sized Chicago deep dish pizza. My server was a young fella from Missouri who had recently moved to the city. The folks sitting next to me were also from Missouri, an uncle out for the day with his 2 nephews. So separately, I managed to ask them something very important, something I ask of everybody from Missouri that I meet. Do they know where Owensville, Missouri is? To my great surprise, both parties, the waiter and the family, knew exactly where Owensville is. I have written this very specifically for one of our listeners who is born in Owensville, Missouri.
Okay.
This person knows who they are. Back to the pizza. The server had commented that, quote, the sauce makes it. And I'd have to agree. The sauce was the best part of the pizza and the best of all the sauces I think I had. The fillings were solid, but the crust, while appropriately crunchy, was kind of bland. It was like eating one of those breadsticks that is just bread flavored.
Mhm.
It wasn't much to it. Uh, Now, I could lie to you for a third time and tell you I only ate half the pizza, but I won't lie to you a third time, Brian. I finished the whole damn thing. So,
It was like a 10-inch. A personal
yeah,
size
just
is how big? Eight,
yeah,
eight or
not that
10?
big. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've got a picture I'll post for the episode if you want.
Okay. Okay, sure.
So, in conclusion, when in Chicago, eat deep dish pizza. Do some research and pick a spot. Maybe don't eat deep dish pizza 3 times in 3 days, but eat some pizza if you're into that kind of thing. And that assessment of Chicago style pizza in A Tale of Two Restaurants, Part 4, Chicago.
Nice. So, my only comments. So Bay Area Brad will appreciate this. There was a place in Austin for a number of years called Manja Pizza that
Hmm.
was a Chicago style pizza, and
Yep.
so they swore up and down. And you can tell me if this is true or not. Their pizzas were Chicago style deep dish, and when it comes out, it's sauce on top, then a layer of crust, and then beneath that layer of crust is cheese and all the stuffings. So it really is a stuffed. The whole thing is a genuine pie, like a chicken pot pie almost.
There really wasn't a layer of crust there, but I see what they're saying. The sauce is prevalent on top,
Mm,
as opposed to the cheese. You put the cheese underneath the sauce. I
right.
don't think there was a second layer of dough, though. I mean, it was basically like a
Oh,
pie.
really? Yeah.
Right,
So,
like
but
actually, I guess it'd be more like a cobbler, right? Because cobblers don't have the cover that a pie does. Isn't that the difference?
right somewhere
Yeah.
in between. Yeah. But that place was killer. Used to go there all the time. But they had 3 or 4 locations in Austin. But they closed up 20 years. I mean, in the 90s in Austin, you could get a damn fine pizza. Whether or not it was counts as
Mhm.
authentic Chicago, I don't know. But damn good.
Well, I think what you said about Mike Birbiglia, what Mike Birbiglia said.
Right. Bigaboo, right. Pizza's like
Um,
sex. Even the worst possible pizza is still
yeah,
pretty good.
and all three were good. I
Right.
think if I went when the next time I go back to Chicago, because I usually go out there every other year or so, I will not have deep dish pizza because I think I've done that enough. So next time, Brian,
Uh,
I will do a comparison of the two best recommended Italian beef sandwich places
okay.
because there's some damn good Italian beef sandwich places in Chicago.
All right, cool.
Provided I don't, die of a massive coronary or something with all this
Yeah, yeah, don't do that.
horrific food. All right. So do you have a curse word of the week for us this week?
I do. Curse word of the week is glitter Nazi. Glitter Nazi. GLITTERNAZI. Any idea?
Well, it sounds kind of like paparazzi,
Hmm.
but I do know there's a recent trend
Hmm.
of people showering ice agents with glitter so you know exactly who they are in a crowd because they stand out in a crowd with glitter all over them. Is that what we're going for here?
Exactly. So this has been fairly widely reported. I've seen this in a few different places. I have not yet seen it, any evidence that anyone has actually done it. I mean, it's fucking hilarious. But glitter. I've never been, I've never faced a glitter attack. But if you were to throw a fistful of the stuff in someone's face, especially if they're wearing a mask and
Hmm.
have, whatever, um, you know, they're covered in fabric. That shit just sticks to everything, and if it gets to your skin, you have to basically pumice it off. You have to get a body scrub to get it off. And so yeah, so if you see someone in your community, I'm not sure whether have there been bad ice experiences happening in Denver. They're all over down here, where ice are people are just vanishing from all over town. And so if you see someone who's being kidnapped by a man in black with his face covered, throw a fistful of glitter in his face, and he'll stand out for a good 2 weeks because you can't get that shit away.
If they're dressed like the secret police, they are in all intents and purposes secret police,
Right.
right? So,
Right. So tag them.
um, well, I think it's a great move. Glitter is basically little bitty flakes of glass, right? Isn't that what glitter really is?
Is it
I think.
glass or is it just like
I'm not sure what
tinfoil? I don't know.
exactly glitter is, but yeah, I love this. I haven't seen any like footage of someone getting glitter bombed, but yeah, go for it. I mean, mark these people.
Yeah. Yes, it's
It's
glitter is the syphilis of craft supplies, right? I mean, it's with
well,
you
I've
for with you
I've just
forever.
I've just been handed a note by our legal counsel. Do not. What they said to me was, do not advise that people assault ICE officers. So
Do not.
I guess they can make an argument that throwing glitter on them is assault because I don't know, maybe they're not fabulous or
You're
something. I
just,
have
you're just you're
no
just
idea.
making them festive. It's a
Yeah.
victimless crime. Go on, go for it.
Glitter Nazi. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
very appropriate for our time.
Yes. So I was going to do a different story this week, and then I shifted gears because I wanted to do something that I thought would be more interactive, and
Uh-oh.
I was confident you would want to talk about. But I don't want this to devolve into me just bitching about kids today and the kids on my lawn and shit like that. But I wanted to talk about Generation X, Gen X. That's you and me.
That's you
Uh,
and me. That is, yes.
yeah, and basically why I think we're just superior.
Oh,
It ain't
oh shit. Okay.
it ain't bragging if it's true, right? I mean, I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but so I suspect. I hope anyway that the comments I'm about to make, most people that we know that are within 5 years of our age would by and large agree with. So first of all, I was a latchkey kid. I think you were as well. I mean,
Mhm.
my mom wasn't coming to fucking pick me up. My mom was at work. My dad was at work.
Yeah.
Starting at in 19 shit 78, 79. I had a key around my neck or in my pocket. I walked home, middle school, took a bus home. Last couple of years of high school, maybe 3 years of high school, I finally had a car for some of that, so drove home. But I had the house to myself for 3 hours, and that level of freedom and control. I mean, I had that for a decade. Would walk to Circle K. There was a Circle K on Riddiman Road, just inside 410
Hmm.
here in San
Yep.
Antonio.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Go there, grab a candy bar. There was a video game they had there called I almost said Gamera. That couldn't be it because Gamera was the
That
King
was the
Kong
giant. That
foe,
was
right?
the
Right.
turtle. The giant turtle. Yeah.
Right. So that's not right. But it seems like these days, kids would have to talk to their therapist or their counselor or their teacher to build up the skills to avoid the social anxiety necessary to walk into a public place and spend money and interact with a member of the general public. I mean, it just feels like there are tons of folks who are way younger than us that the idea of not being driven to every single location would just be completely foreign to them and stressful and unacceptable. Along the same lines, when we weren't walking home from school, we were just outside. I spent my entire childhood outside. I had a bedroom with a bed in it, and that was it. Uh, Pretty much, I was filthy and sweaty nonstop. During basketball season, I played basketball. I played soccer on a team for a couple of years. During football season, I played football. In the summertime, frisbee, baseball, endless mowing and yard work. You did more of that shit than I did because all the mowing and maintenance you had to do dealing with farms and cattle and ranches and
Hmm.
other shit. You probably got way more sunburns than I did. But cycling and gardening, I mean, we didn't go fishing a whole bunch, but I recall vividly just walking out to our garden wanting bait, and I could, inside of about 3 minutes, I could dig up grub worms, the size of a quarter. They're
Hmm.
perfect bait. Throw them in a whatever, and head down to Salado Creek or wherever we were going. Again, these days, like, you want me to do what? Jam my hands into where? No, I'm not doing that. And so, as I'm sure I've alluded to here before, when we went camping, especially in New Mexico, I had no guardrails at all. There was no oversight. I was allowed to be completely feral. And oh, there's a mountain. I want to hike up there. Is it changing elevation to 1,000 feet? Yeah, go have fun. I'm 8 years old. Go. And just covered in dirt from head to toe, basically every day.
What if he
Coming
gets
home,
dehydrated? He'll figure it out.
right, right. He'll chomp on a cactus. He'll be fine. And coming back from Ghost Ranch, especially with all the dirt out there, that was the reds and oranges and pinks. Back in the 70s and 80s, all of my socks and underwear were white. That was all that was available, I think. So whenever I got new
Yeah.
socks and underwear, it was always white. And then I'd come back from a camping trip, and they would just be sort of vaguely pinkish for 6 months because you
Hmm.
couldn't wash that shit out. So because it just got fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like our generation has some skills, has some actual like life skills. I can drive a manual transmission. I know you. I know you can as well. It's like if there's some news story I saw in passing, I think in Houston, where a guy there was a carjacking, and the guy quickly gave up the car, and the criminal leapt in and looked at it. It's like, oh shit, it's a manual. Had no idea what to do with it, and so just got out and ran away. Like, what the fuck is this crazy exotic vehicle I can't drive?
Just grinding the gear, trying to get it into.
Right, right. There are three pedals on the floor. I'm confused. So, I mean, any vehicle, anything sort of vaguely vehicle-ish, I knew how to start. I could drive anything, any like riding lawnmower, go-kart, didn't matter what it was. I could change oil, I could change a battery, I could change a flat tire on a bike, I could repair a bike chain. I couldn't
Oh, I
change
couldn't do
brake.
that. You got me there. I wasn't. I've never been a big bicyclist, but yeah,
Okay.
I had a bike. But yeah, I don't think I could do that. That's a good skill
Yeah.
to know, though.
I couldn't change like brake pads or anything, but in middle school, I have a very clear memory of changing spark plugs and oil
Hmm.
filters. On we inherited my grandmother's, I think, 1980 Chevy Malibu. It's a sweet ride, man. We, but middle school age, getting fucking
Hmm.
filthy. Uh, some basic cooking skills. Anyone born between 65 and 80 wouldn't necessarily be reduced to tears if they were told that there were, you have 10 people coming over to your house in 10 minutes, feed them. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm no chef, but I do have some skills, and
Hmm.
virtually everyone of our generation, I think, does. DoorDash isn't a skill, by the way. When I was in my mid 30s at one point, I started dating a woman who was about 10 years younger than I was. And one time we were on the phone, and I was making a bunch of noise in the background. And she finally asked me what I was doing. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm making some homemade marinara sauce." And she would not have been more shocked if I said I was doing nuclear fusion. She was like, "What? That's impossible. You can't do that."
That comes from a bottle or a jar,
No, I was making it from
right?
from tomato. Right? Yeah, right.
That's what
Exactly.
she.
Right.
That's what she was
Yeah,
thinking.
it's like
Yeah.
what? Prego. Right. Uh, the other thing, how to treat people who are older than us. This has come up for me a little bit recently. My dad was big on this. If someone walked into a room, especially someone that I didn't know or someone who was older than I was, you stood up and you greeted them and you shook their hand and you shook their hand firmly. If you didn't shake their hand firm, I mean, my father did never beat me or my siblings. Take it back. He may have spanked my siblings a little bit, but they were probably they probably had it coming. Um, but just some decent. Oh, who are you? I'm Brian.
Hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. Uh, so basic common decency for younger generations. If you don't want to do that because you don't care about showing people respect, I guess that's fine. Maybe consider doing it for completely selfish reasons. There's no downside in having your elders think highly of you, right? When if we're both in our mid 50s, when 65 and 70-year-olds hold us in high regard, it doesn't hurt in life, to have that happen. Uh, Also, learn to say sir and ma'am in talking to others, especially people that are older than you, and especially people of color, because it conveys
Hmm.
respect. It conveys that you're on some level that there's a level of I don't know, camaraderie or respect there that they still in 2025 do not receive as much as they should. So,
I say it to any tradesperson who comes to the house to work on something of mine.
right, it's just
Yes, sir. No, sir. I mean, it's
yeah, right, right.
you
Just
have a
it's
skill I
just
clearly don't, so I
right.
I
So
respect
I
you for
respect
that.
that. I'm paying for it, and I'll be nice to you. So don't use sir interchangeably with dude or bro. They're not the same thing. Just
Nope.
just so you know. So I'm at least moderately close to probably 20 or 30 people that I've known for 50 years, right?
Hmm.
Many of them are through church, the church I grew up in, and almost without exception, there are probably two, but I think all are essentially agnostic and are not actively involved in any community of faith anymore. But they are all better Christians than most Christians are. They give a shit about the community. They're involved in their neighborhood. They, don't have horseshit backward views about race or gender roles or any of the nonsense that's coming up in the political world right now. All this crap that right wingers seem to adopt. about anti-trans and all this immigration stuff. That the glitter Nazi is why that was today's curse words. Gen Xers recycle. They work in they'll help a neighbor out, and they want people to have a good life by and large. Gen Xers also, in my mind, seem to be able to communicate. They know how they feel, and they're able to explain it. That's not to say you need to overshare with strangers, but they can begin a sentence with the words "I'm angry because," or "I'm frustrated because," or "I'm thrilled because." Maybe enough of us have actually had enough therapy or something where we've gotten good at it, or maybe enough of us had parents who were really, really bad at it that we've just learned. Oh wait, that sucked when my dad was just shut down and refused to speak. That that felt
Mhm.
that felt shitty. I'm not going to do that to people I care about. Uh, but if you're a younger person, if you're 40 or younger, and any sort of expression of emotion scares you or leaves you feeling exposed, in my mind, you just need to fucking get over it. It's not that big of a deal. It won't hurt that much. And this is in my mind very symptomatic of these useless incels who voted for Trump because people who are incompetent at everything love other people who are incompetent at everything. Thus, we have Trump. So cut it out. Most people, especially women, hello incels, appreciate basic communication. So silent treatment or being brooding or complex or deep is just horseshit. So cut it out. Uh, and I'm not going to belabor this point either. And you might actually slightly disagree with me on this one, but Gen Xers had the best music. I mean, we're close enough. We were close enough to the '60s, where we had the British invasion and all of that. But we had the '70s and we had the '80s as well. You and I have talked about the fact that the '70s were the best decade for movies.
Oh
I
yeah,
think I think the '70s
at least
was the best.
American movies.
Right. I think the '70s was the best decade uh, for music. So '60s, Beatles, James Brown, Beach Boys, Supremes, Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Aretha, Elvis, Sam Cooke, Jimi Hendrix, Ray Charles, Otis, Temptations, Smokey Robinson, The Byrds, Marvin Gaye, Four Seasons, blah 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 blah. Okay, of course, Rush. We have Rush in the '60s.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And then for the '70s, then we have virtually all of the above. Plus, we have yes, Genesis, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Doobie Brothers, Guess Who, Pink Floyd, Fleetwood Mac, Jethro Tull, Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, King Crimson, Bruce Springsteen, The Who, Joy Division, Talking Heads, Elvis Costello, Kraftwerk, B-52s, The Clash, Santana, Queen, Patti Smith,
Blondie.
T-Rex, Blondie, Funkadelic, and of course Rush. Sorry, I won't name all the bands from the
You
'80s.
and one other person are enjoying that joke right now.
Right. In the '80s, I mean, the '80s stand, on their own just fine. Even if you just have a list that includes, Prince, Michael Jackson, and the Police. I
Peter
mean, come on,
Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel.
He's in the
Plus,
70s, really, but
plus, yeah, plus hundreds of others. Plus, the '80s gave us the ability to make mixtapes. The key to every
mhm.
girl's heart, right? So,
And I would throw into your list Public Enemy, Run
right,
DMC.
yeah, of course. Yeah, very, very far from complete. So what else? Gen Xers rather, respect our elders, yeah, but we're also, in my mind, the first generation that started to distrust authority. Thank you, Richard Nixon. Our parents' generation always did what they were told and couldn't wrap their brains around the fact that malingering in the public sphere was even possible. Everyone always told the truth at all times, and you always did as you were told. I mean, any authority figure, if they told you to do X, you did X, pretty much without exception. So add some Nixon in there, add some Ronald Reagan and Iran Contra, and suddenly you have some healthy skepticism. So I suspect it's the case that Gen Xers are the best possible agents for social change. If you look at the ass fucks that are currently in charge, and this trend to the right. I'm sorry. I mean, I use the word ass fucks in the best possible sense of the word.
Yes, I understood
Right.
that. Yes.
Okay. Uh, I mean, these are folks who were born by and large between the mid '80s to the early 2000s, and these are the Proud Boys and the incels who can barely find their ass with both hands, who play video games and barely function in civilized society. They hate black people, but for reasons they don't quite understand and can't articulate. Uh, and they're actually having less sex than the generation that preceded them. Uh, and they're pissed off, and they've decided to elect the king of ineptitude because he's like them. Trump does nothing well, and he is the living embodiment of what a stupid person thinks a rich person does. So, as I've indicated on this podcast before, I believe uh, it's the case that there are a boatload of people in our age demographic, basically late 40s and 50s, who are functionally libertarian, who want people to have happy lives and for society to improve, and they're happy to be agents for change in that way. But it's the folks right behind us who have left us in this imperiled state. Gen X has grit, hard work, creativity. We lived through the transition from analog to digital. We've seen a ton, and for some reason, we actually still give a shit. I'm not sure why, but we do.
This is very thought-provoking, Bryan.
So
I have
some of this comes from Houston Defender, some from Vox.com, some from an article on Team Integral, but most of this is just my what was on my brain this week.
uh, can I make a couple of comments?
Absolutely.
So, in regards to our generation being the first to distrust authority, I would say we're the first generation that was born into a world where you were allowed to do that because of what some
Uh,
people in the 60s did. Civil rights movements in particular.
sure.
Even looking before that, like the Wobblies and folks like that who would protest the entire arms industry being protest. Secondly, I think one of the things, at least in America, that separates us, because Gen X starts in 65, right?
Yep.
Is that the We were the first full generation born after the assassination of the president,
Oh yeah.
President
Hmm.
Kennedy. And we were born into a world where if they could get to the president, they could get to anybody. So we were born into a naturally suspicious world, I
Hmm.
guess.
Could be.
And we're also the first generation that lived through a conspiracy that was really true, which was Watergate. And even though we don't may not have memories of it, I don't have my first president that I really remember is Ford. Um, but I think there's something about being born on that cusp of a historical pivot, as important as the Kennedy assassination, that really kind of speaks to our generation's mindset. And I have very little disagreement with you on the music and the film. I think that's absolutely crucial. And I think that, quite frankly, I think that also, if you saw the 70s, you would look at what we consider to be popular television. That also changed a lot too. And a lot of great shows from the 70s, man, they're
They still
chestnuts. They can't.
they hold up, man.
The Bob Newhart Show, Mary Tyler Moore, MASH, WKRP
Right.
in Cincinnati.
Right. Barney Miller. Yeah.
Barney Miller. Yeah, that's the unsung sitcom, I think, of the it was overshadowed, but my what a funny show. I mean, just expect Inspector Luger. Bond, let me tell you what's going on downtown. Bond. Um, so I don't know if we're the best generation or the generation that had the most potential that we maybe wasted. That's what I feel like about my life, that I've wasted a lot of my potential and time. But I think we're also the first generations like, slow down. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do things a certain way anymore. And
Right.
in speaking to this last thing I'll say, that skill that you develop and the practical skills you develop, I it's not something I never thought of consciously because my dad was like, always, come here, I'm going to show you how to do this.
Right.
Right. And it's just like I try to do that with my kids. Okay. And let me show you how to, and when my boys were both in scouts, they had to do a fix it yourself badge.
Mhm.
So they helped me reseat a toilet, which is not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
And out of that, they learned a few skills like here's how you turn the water off to your, which is very important. Here's how you turn the water off to your toilet. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain skill set that came from being outside and handling stuff like engines and bicycles and just basic labor
Hmm.
that makes you appreciate things a whole lot more. And people who get mad at road crews for working on the roads, it's like that's a hard goddamn job. That's
In
a
Texas,
thankless
especially.
job,
Right.
especially in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, or they'll, oh god damn it, the mowers are loud. Yeah, you know what? That's a hard damn job. I did that from the time I was 12 to the time I was 18, mowed lawns in the Texas summer, and then on the weekends I would go out to the farm and work with my dad. And I don't know, castrate cattle. So, it was like, yeah, it's going to be hard work. There is something about hard work that makes you appreciate something like talking into a microphone for a living, right? I mean, just
Right, right.
anyway.
Yeah.
And this has been Cranky Old Man Corner here at Dream
What?
Idiots, but
Who? Yes. We have to sign off. I have to go to the bathroom. No.
yeah, I'm waiting for the first time someone says "Okay, Xer" instead of "Okay, Boomer," and then it'll. Uh,
Right.
well, I guess it's our time to be put out to pasture now. So
Anyway, that was I was stewing this week and was aggravated with some other people, and so I don't know. I could be wrong about all that. I don't think so. But it seems like there are lots of folks that are just vaguely competent that are under the age of 35. Like, come on,
let me
really?
ask you this. Let me ask you this. Did you take shop in middle school?
I did not take shop in middle school. I wish that I had. I mean, frankly, I wish I had more sort of hands-on
Hmm.
skills, like you know, being able to deal with cars or an HVAC unit or stuff like that. I,
Hmm.
I wish I had more skills like that. So, but no, I did not.
Yeah, I took wood shop and then I took metal shop and is as in middle school. And you get people make fun of that. That's where the stoner kids go. It's like, well, maybe, but it's also practical skills that you can put to use,
Right.
right? I mean, I know how to use bandsaws. I know how to use this. I know how to use that. I know what I can't do, which is also very important. Like I'm not touching that. Um, like I never took an electrics class. So if it comes to electrics, it's like, yep, I'm calling a professional. I'm not
Right. Right.
I'm not dealing with that. Plumbing line's gone out. Nope, I can fix a clogged toilet and maybe reseat this toilet a little bit, but that's the extent of my
Right.
yeah.
And those jobs are are in high demand now. I mean, it's I'm not gonna quote this correctly, but those skilled labor positions, they're those roles are being those folks are retiring faster than those roles are being replaced. And so, if you're 15, 16, 17 pondering, I mean, the 4 year bachelor's degree versus going out, I mean, you want to improve your life, you want to be able to provide for a family, trade schools are a nice, cheap alternative to a BA.
The
Worth
other
looking
thing
at.
that I the other thing I think it's important for every generation to do, and maybe we were the first to do this, I don't know, but one of the things that I've come to live by is when you don't know something, admit it.
Right,
Seriously, it's like when you don't know how to do something, say I don't know, can you explain that more? Or like when I was teaching and I realized early on in teaching that you don't bullshit students.
right,
You say, you know what, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. Let's try to figure that out together. And because you can't know everything, you can't do everything. And it's like my wife used to tell her medical student she would work with, if you don't know something, tell me you don't know. Don't make something up. This
right,
isn't too important for you to try to fake your way through it. If you don't know, ask. Yeah, you feel dumb in the moment, but you know what? No one dies. So,
right, right, right.
um, yeah, and I,
Yeah,
I think I think that's an important thing to model for kids too. Is like, I don't know the answer.
right,
Let's get a diction.
right, and that's
Yeah,
fine. Right, right. Yeah,
yeah, it's
again,
okay.
that's a a terrible byproduct of the currently the world in which we live at present is anything that you disagree with or any position that is not helpful to you is fake news or is not true. So, you know, those in the current administration can go on TV or go online on social media and they can make any pronouncement that they want. And if without any evidence of it, and if you disagree with them or challenge them, you are told you're a loser. So
Hmm.
just tell the truth. If you don't know something, tell the truth. If you attempt something, and attempt some initiative and it winds up being ineffective, just say it's ineffective. Don't pronounce it as don't make the pronouncement. It's just been a huge success. Obliterated.
Like Pete Hegseth did with the bombing in Iran, where
Right.
it was the most accurate and successful in the history of American.
I know no wasn't keg breath. Shut up. Anyway,
Did you just call him
so
keg? Did you call him keg breath?
yeah.
That is a great name for him. I like that. Keg breath.
So this has been Old Man Ramblings. Thanks for listening, folks. We appreciate it.
Yes, when in Chicago, visit Exile in Bookville, one of the best little independent bookstores I've ever been to. That's a free plug for them. Fantastic bookstore, huge cultural historical section, and it gives you something to read while you're eating your deep dish pizza. So safe travels to everyone out there if you are traveling, especially internationally for the summer or for vacations. Um, and look out for other people.